This is the 9th episode of Tech for Seniors. Wow, 9 episodes, Huey. We did it.
Wow. Yes.
I'd like to introduce.
Amazing that we can still come up with material.
I know. Well, we've got. I want to introduce Hewie Polock. He's my co-host. Wave there, Huey. And Bob G is our security guy. He's gives us our security updates, and he keeps us safe, and he keeps Zoom bombers out. So Bob's a tough guy. Don't mess with Bob, right? There you go. So, well, welcome today. We have a huge show for you today. We have lots of very interesting stuff to talk about, and some very interesting videos for you. So, so stay tuned, and we're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna talk a little bit, then Bob's gonna talk a little bit, then Huey's gonna talk, and then we'll go back over and do the same thing again. So we're gonna have some fun, and we'll hopefully get out of here by 10 o'clock. So I wanted to talk about 3 articles I read this week in the news, and I thought I would just share my thoughts on some of these articles. I don't know if you saw the article. This was the world's fastest internet speed sees download speeds 1 million times faster than current broadband. Researchers in Australia have achieved a world record speed of 44.2 terabytes per second, allowing users to download 1,000 HD movies in a single second. Now that's pretty amazing. The highest commercial speed anywhere in the world is in Singapore, where the average download speed was 197.3 megabytes per second. That's an average. So I got to tell you an interesting story. I have cable internet here, and so I have never really paid much attention to how much data I use. It's not really important right now, but you know, 15 years ago, before we had all the streaming stuff going on, you know, the amount that you consumed in a month was maybe 300 to 500 megabytes. And I can remember if you went to a gigabyte of data that you used, that was about $1,000 a month. That was really expensive. So I went for fun. I went and looked to see what my data use was in April. And my data use, now I'm a big internet user, my wife is, and I've got 2 working, my daughter and son-in-law are big internet users. Plus we use Netflix and we just use everything on the internet. But I use 700 gigabytes in 700 gigabytes in April. Now, May is a really big month for me. I'm sure I'm going to be up to probably a terabyte of data. And I thought, well, how things have changed, you know, really, when you think back and you think how much data we actually consume across the internet is amazing. So, so the good news is that it is possible to really crank up the speed, and that's amazing that the researchers did that in Australia. Who would know, eh? The second article is a very interesting article, and it has to do with Microsoft. Now, everybody knows Microsoft, and Microsoft's Build conference was this week. You may or may not know about Build, but Build is a developers conference, and it is well attended each year. There's about 200,000 people come, and it's usually held in the Washington Seattle Convention Center. It costs about $2,000 to go. You have to get tickets early on in the year. The hotels are expensive. You've got to go there, but if you're a developer and you deal with Microsoft, you have to go, really. And so it's a big conference. It's been going for many, many, many years. Well, I was reading an article early on this week, and it was said, oh, the Microsoft Build conference is on. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? And it said, click here if you want to attend. So I clicked on the link, and it took me to the Microsoft site. And I logged on to the Microsoft site, and it said, do you want to come to the conference? And it asked me a few questions. And I said, sure, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And bingo, it said you're registered, and the registration package is in your inbox. So I go over to my inbox, and sure enough, the whole registration package, all the breakout rooms, all the links to all the services were all available for me to go to Microsoft Build. And I thought, wasn't that interesting? It was free of charge, not a single, nothing, didn't cost me anything. So I popped into a few of the sessions, but it's all programming stuff. I really wasn't that interested. But the point is that how technology has changed and how conferences have changed. You know, as a professional, when I was back in my working days, you know, CME, continuing medical education, was mandatory, and you had to attend conferences. And this was part of your ongoing accreditation. But that's all. Like, we don't need. I don't think when we come out of this that we're going to be going to conferences. I mean, this is incredible that this all happened, and I don't know if they'll go back to having physical conferences again. An article that just came out yesterday on Microsoft Build is that they had way more than their estimated 200,000 people there. They had up to 300,000 or 400,000 people that had registered. So this is really a real game changer, and I wonder what's going to happen in the future about convention centers, large hotels, and all the services that are around this. So that's pretty amazing. And the last article that I wanted to talk about was the Samsung Active 2 watch. Now, I put a link in the chat for everyone. Those of you who know, I did a talk last year called "Saving Your Life with Wearable Technology," and all of you, it's an APCUG show as well, and it talks about atrial fibrillation monitoring and stroke prevention, and it really has to do with the Apple Watch. But just to let you know that the Android watch, the Samsung Active 2, this week got approved in South Korea for atrial fibrillation monitoring, and the software is there. So you're going to be seeing probably it approved in the United States this summer for atrial fibrillation monitoring. So we will have an Android device for atrial fibrillation monitoring. And if you haven't seen my video, I put a link in the chat, and you can watch it. And I'm going to certainly be doing an update on this. The two new features that are coming out this year will be blood pressure monitoring, and I'm sure the new Apple Watch will have that, and the Samsung Active 2 will be able to do your blood pressure as well. So that's it for me. Those are the interesting articles I thought this week. I will, Bob, do you want to do your security now? Turn your mic on. And share your screen.
Since there is no vaccine to protect you against hackers, staying alert and informed of the latest outbreaks helps to make you aware of your exposure. So let's get started with this week's update of the Avast Security News Roundup.
EasyJet has announced that a highly sophisticated cyber attack has affected 9 million customers. It said email addresses and travel details had been stolen, and that 2,208 customers also had their credit card details accessed. The firm has informed the UK Information Commissioner's Office and is continuing to investigate the breach. EasyJet said it first became aware of the attack back in January. Meal kit delivery service Home Chef is the latest company to suffer a data breach, with the details of some 8 million customers stolen. Customer records from the company were offered for sale on the dark web, a shady part of the internet reachable with special software. The stolen data includes email addresses, encrypted passwords, the last 4 digits of credit card numbers, gender, and age information. subscription information, and more. When a data breach happens, what can criminals really do with the data they steal? Actually, information is the new gold, and cybercriminals have many lucrative options in terms of data breach information, some of which include selling the data, illicitly withdrawing money from bank accounts, using compromised payment cards to make purchases, using the personal information of others to register for new credit cards, access and manipulate tax filings, lock victims out of their bank accounts, and lock victims out of their social media accounts. A recent poll by the Wall Street Journal reveals tech fears. CEOs surveyed by the Wall Street Journal lose sleep over the risk of their companies suffering a data breach. Less than half believe that they have a sensibly updated cybersecurity strategy, and only 46% regularly review those strategies. I would call this another form of social engineering. That's it for this week's Security News Roundup. Stay safe. See you next week.
Since there is no vaccine to protect.
Thanks, Bob. Great. Appreciate that. Hewie, you're on.
All right, let's see. I'm going to have to talk fast because I got a lot to say and we don't have much time. So let me make sure that I've got this checked here and here. I wanted to talk about something that has to do with Zoom, but it also has to do with saving. I'm going to make this bigger, I hope. I guess it didn't. Try it now. Well, I guess it's as big as it's going to get. Anyway, one of the groups that I was speaking to recently, several people who would normally be there weren't. And so some of the members that were there started calling up those other members and saying, how come you're not on? And they couldn't get on because the invite that they got just didn't have the link correct. So what I did was, let's go ahead and open this. This is what I had sent to the leader of the group. And it showed right at the top in nice big letters, the link, the meeting ID, and the password. And let's see, go back here. And the leader of the group then sent it out to his group, and he sent it, and it looked like this. And he didn't include the password, and the link didn't wrap properly, and only part of it was a link. The rest of it just kind of went away. And this can happen with any link that you forward to somebody. So if somebody tells you, hey, you sent me a link and it doesn't work, this could be the reason. When you get a real long link like that, sometimes it wraps in their email and only part of it is linkable. So just bear that in mind when you send these things out. Now, somebody just mentioned that the tiny URL wasn't working for them. If you're not familiar with tiny URL, and there's another one called bit.ly, bit.ly will take you to that website. I use that probably more than tiny URL. But Jim Glass typed in a link in the chat box. I copied it. Now I'm going to paste it as a long URL right here, and then I'm going to tell it to make a tiny URL. When I do that, it says, okay, here is the URL that I put in, and here's what it created. And so if I copy that to the clipboard and then go up to a new tab and then just paste it, that's how long it is. And when I click it, it shows what he was talking about earlier, the scanner in a box. So just by taking a really long URL and shortening it, it makes it a lot easier when you post it to your friends. And then also, here's in this article that's posted on my blog is a link to the bit.ly and to tiny URL. There's some things that you probably want to consider using when you're sending out real long ones. I'm also going to inform Zoom they should probably give us an alternative of some type of a small URL when they send out those links. And I'll see you in a bit. Let me go ahead and stop sharing, and I'll turn it back to you, Ron.
Okay.
Huey.
Thanks, Huey. Bob, were you going to talk briefly about Google Pay?
Bill James had a question.
Oh, Bill, sorry, go ahead.
Huey, you can't use the tiny URL for the Zoom links, can you?
I did. I tried it and it worked.
Okay,
Now,
thank you.
but somebody said they had tried it and it didn't. So I'm not sure. If you are going to try it, always test it first before you send it out.
Thank you.
Bob, let's go. You're on Google Pay, I think you're going to talk.
Chrome will now make it easier for you to make payments by allowing you to use Windows Hello instead of entering your 3-digit security code for your debit and credit cards. Simply open up the Chrome browser and then type in what you see here. Once that opens, you'll notice a new option. Windows Hello. Turn it on. It will then verify to make sure this is actually you making that request. In my case, I have to present my finger to the fingerprint reader to verify that this is me. Once that's done, from now on, the only thing you have to do is select your credit card and use your fingerprint or whatever other method you used in Hello, and your payment will go through. One more step in making life easier. Stay safe, be free. I hope this helps. Google Chrome will now make it easier for you.
Thanks, Bob. That's good. Thank you. That's very interesting. Has anyone used Google Pay?
I have.
Work okay?
Yes.
Good.
As long as you got your fingerprint handy.
Yeah. Good.
I don't know if it'll work on facial recognition yet or not.
You also have to have money in your card. Otherwise, it still won't work, even with the right fingerprint.
Gotcha.
All right, Bob, can you unshare your screen?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Okay, so the next, I guess next up is me. I'm going to show you a video. Now, the video is actually, I'm going to show you part 1 of the video, and Huey has a big presentation coming up too. So I'm only going to play about 10 or 12 minutes of my video, and we'll play the next part next week. And this is on organizing your smartphone. So let me just share my screen. And we'll share computer sound. Good afternoon, it's Ron Brown with Silvercom Computer and Technology Club. Over the past 10 years, I've done a tech session at our resort on Fridays between 1 and 3 p.m. There have been many smartphone problems to sort out. I have a Pixel 3 phone that runs an Android operating system and basic knowledge of the iPhone. Today's talk will be applicable to both operating systems, but demonstrated on an Android device. One of the common problems is not being able to find out where your apps are. So this presentation is on organizing your smartphone. Now let's see how it's done. The problem: too many apps, they're not organized, and where are they on your cell phone? Windows installs programs, and smartphones have apps. When installing a program on Windows, the program becomes united with the operating system. It is like a tree with an extensive root system. Removing the tree is often difficult and leaves behind residual files. This is why I rarely install or delete programs on my Windows machine. On a smartphone, we have apps. On the Android phone and Chromebook, these apps sit on the surface of the operating system. The operating system actually treats the apps as hostile and doesn't allow any interaction. Because apps do not alter the operating system, you can install and delete as many as you want. Now, don't be afraid to delete an app. Some of you don't know how to do this, so let me explain. You'll see here we have an Adobe app sitting on the lower left-hand corner here. When I show you, when I click on this, and we long press it, we're going to drag it up to the top here, and we're going to uninstall it. So let's see how this works. And the uninstall is there. We just drop it over the uninstall. Do you want to uninstall this? And you say okay, and it's gone. When you install an app, it often is put on a blank page. You have too many pages with 1 or 2 apps on them. This makes it very hard to find your apps. So let's say we had an app called Wemo, and we wanted to find this app and put it in a more important place on my phone. Let's see how we might find it. This is my home page on my phone. Let's see if we can find the Wemo app. Page 2. Not there. Page 3. Not there. Page 4. Not there. Page 5. Not there. And page 6. We finally find the Wemo app. Another way to find out where your apps are is to do a page up on your smartphone. And this will list all your apps in alphabetical order. Let's swipe up on this menu, on this page, and see what happens. As we swipe up, you will see all your apps all in alphabetical order. This is another way in which you can find your apps. Now let's move some apps and eliminate some of those blank pages. Let's see how to do that. Now this is page 2 on my phone, and you'll see that there are some blank areas here. There's a couple of apps we could put here and one that we could put up here. So let's go and find those apps and move them. So we keep going to the right, and we find an app called Audible. It's all by itself on a page, but we have some blank areas before. So we're going to long press on this, and we're going to drag it to the left, and we're going to drop it in that space there, which is on page 2, making it a lot easier to find. Let's see, this is page 1. Now we've moved it up and made it a lot easier to find on page 2. Let's go back. We're now on page 4 and page 5. So here's our Wemo app. Let's move it to the blank area. There we go. And we're going to drop it on page 2 in a blank area there. Let's go back to another blank page. Long press on the file app. If you click on it, it'll open it. So just long press on it, and we're going to drag it to the left. And we're going to place it again on page 2. In that blank spot. Now watch as I go to the right. This is page 3, but I can't go any further right because there were no apps on those 3 pages now, so the Android system deleted those pages. So now we've condensed the pages on our smartphone down to 3, which makes it easier to find your apps. Now, another way to
make your apps more available is to put them in a folder. So let me show how to make a folder. In this demonstration, we have a medical widget here. We'll talk about widgets in a minute. And we have the Google Drive app. These two are sitting on my phone on a page, and I want to put them in a folder. By putting it in a folder, I will be able to move them to another page where there is not as much real estate. So to make the folder, we just drag one of the apps on top of the other, and this gives us this brings up another menu and makes it able to make a folder, and we're going to call the folder Receipts. And now we have put these two apps into a folder, and we've made it called Receipts. Then we're going to move this so we can eliminate that page. We're going to move it up forward onto page 3, which is right here, and that will eliminate the page. Now this is
all right. So that's about half the video, and we will. I'm going to stop it there, and we'll play the next part next week. You can see the video and watch it. I'll send it out in the link, and the link's in the chat if you want to watch it again. I know Dewey has a big presentation. Huey has a big presentation, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And the real point that I want to make is that I do a lot of tech work, and usually when I see people's phones, it's a dog's breakfast. You know, there's apps all over the place. No one knows where they are. And the worst offender is Greg Farrell. Where's Greg? Greg is the, oh my gosh, I'll tell you a story about Greg one day when I went over to see him, and I said, he's a fire captain. He used to be a fire chief. And I said, you're in the water, you're upside down. And well, that's a good story. I don't want to get into that story right now, but I'll tell you later about that, because I want to get Dewey going with his presentation now. He's going to be talking on the new Microsoft Edge, and I think or Credge. What is it? Is it Credge or is it Edge? Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I see that. We'll find out.
Is it Credge or is it Edge?
It is Edge.
Oh, okay.
But Credge is something that Mary Jo Foley made up, so and Microsoft doesn't like that term.
Okay.
So we ready for me? Let's go ahead and all I have to do is start it here. Welcome, I'm Hewie Polock, and I'm going to be talking about Microsoft Edge. Edge replaced Edge. That's right, Microsoft updated their Edge browser software with a new version based on the Chromium or Chrome browser, as opposed to their independently run Edge browser before that. So this is what the new logo looks like. So Mary Jo Foley, a podcaster who talks about Microsoft on a weekly basis. I listen to her podcast along with Paul Thurrott. And she coined the term Credge, and it's become a popular unofficial code name for the Chromium-based Edge, the new browser from Microsoft, even though Microsoft doesn't like the name Credge. And what that means, it is the Chromium version of Edge. The latest version, which just came out on May 21st, is version 83.0.478.37, but it's version 83 is the latest version. And there's been a few updates, and just Edge itself you may not be familiar with, and there's some things that I want to talk about with Edge. Microsoft Edge updates will now roll out gradually. Edge is being separated from the Microsoft Windows updates, and it will have its own updates. So going forward, updates for Edge will be rolled out to users over a period of a few days instead of all at once, and this protects the users from accidental buggy updates. There are several improvements to the Microsoft Defender Smart Screen service, such as improved protection and so on and so on and so on. What all that gobbledygook means is there's better security in the latest version of Edge. Users can now exempt certain cookies from automatically clearing when the browser closes. Most of you don't get into what cookies you're going to allow and not allow and delete and so on, but the fact is that there's better control of cookies in this latest version of Edge if you want to be involved in that. Also, there's something called collections. When I was using Edge to put this presentation together, this popped up and says, have you tried collections? Easily collect and organize and share content you'll find across the web. And I'm going to demonstrate that in the demo in just a bit. And so once I said yes, it said start a new collection. And once I did that, it was very, very clear on how to do it. And this is the button we're going to have to look for when we do open up the Edge. So you can use drag and drop to add an item to a collection without opening the collection. During the drag and drop, you can also choose location in the collection list where you want to put the item. You can add multiple items to a collection instead of adding just one at a time. You can add multiple items. You can select items and then drag them to the collection. And you can select the items, right-click, and then pick the collection where you want the items. I try to play with some of these, and I didn't get it to work, and I think it may be because it's those advancements haven't been rolled out, but the collections feature is working in the version of Edge that I have, that you probably will have as well if you do all of the updates. You can add the tabs in an Edge window to a new collection without adding them individually. When you see what tabs are, you'll get an idea a little bit about what all this means. So you can now easily add all open tabs to a collection of Microsoft Edge. The feature is available in the Dev and Canary. This was a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, that these items came out. So right-clicking on a tab shows the option to add tabs to the new collection, and I did notice that I don't have that feature yet. So this is coming, but it's coming soon. Here's what it's going to look like. I couldn't do it, so I had to steal somebody else's image, but it will look like this, where you can duplicate a tab, you can pin a tab, you close it, but you can also reopen the tab. You can add all the tabs to favorites. You can add tabs to a new collection. And here it is a little bit larger, not quite as clear, but certainly larger. The latest stable version of Microsoft Edge browser finally adds support for extension syncing, meaning you won't have to manually reinstall extensions individually with each new device. Extension sync is now available. You can sync your extensions across all of your devices. I tried to play with this a little bit, and what I'm looking at is I think Microsoft Edge Sync enables the users to access their browsing data across their signed-in devices. The data supported by Sync includes favorites, passwords, addresses, and more. In other words, filling in forms and so on. Settings. Users can turn Sync on or off for each of the data types listed above. But what I'm finding is the prerequisites that you have to have the Office 365 Enterprise 3 and above, not even Enterprise 1 or 2. You've got to have some of the advanced Enterprise, and Enterprise means the large corporation versions. So I don't think this, I may be wrong. Ron and I got pretty excited about the fact that, oh, we can now with Edge have all of the extensions go across from Chrome to Edge. That may be the case, but that's not what I'm reading. So I may be wrong in our assumption, but and I hope I am, because I hope it does work, but this may not be something that all of us can take advantage of. The immersive reader had several improvements, and I'm going to get into the immersive reader in my demo because I love this feature about the Microsoft Edge, and I think you will as well. There is added support for adverbs and parts of speech. Experience that we have an immersive reader. While reading an article within immersive reader, you can open the grammar tools, switch on adverbs within parts of speech to highlight all the adverbs, for instance. I'm going to demonstrate that in just a few minutes. I also added the ability to select any content on a web page and open it in the immersive reader. This ability enables users to use the immersive reader and all the learning tools such as line focus, read aloud across all websites. We'll see that also in my demo. Link Doctor provides host correction and a search query for users when they mistype a URL. And here's an example. If you misspell POWERBI as, and you add two B's in there, .com, the Link Doctor will suggest the one with just the one B as a correction, but it'll also give you a link to search for the one you typed in wrong, just in case you are looking for something different than what it expected. Version 81, which was two versions ago now, was April 13th. They skipped 82. And Chrome did the same thing. There was no 82 version. They waited too long. But this came out in April, and Microsoft Edge now identifies and removes duplicate favorites, and you can merge folders with the same name. You can access the tool. In order to do so, you click the star on the browser's toolbar and select Remove Duplicate Favorites. You can confirm that changes and any updates to your favorites will be synced across the devices. If you have payment cards saved in your Microsoft account, you can use them in Microsoft Edge while filling out payment forms. The cards in your Microsoft will sync across desktop devices. And again, I'm not sure if you have to be a part of the enterprise or whether this will work on home computers as well. And the full details will be shared with the website after two-factor authentication. And it needs your CVC code and your Microsoft identity. So for further convenience, you can choose to securely save a copy of the card on your device during the authentication. There's also something called line focus. It's designed for users who like to focus on a limited part of the content. You'll see this when we do the immersive reader and how you can change that, and also some of the setups. I will show you how you can change what the line focus is. When a PDF documents are opened using Microsoft Edge, users are able to create highlights, change color, and delete highlights. This feature helps in referencing important parts of the document later and for calibration. So to start the immersive reader for a website, just press the F9 key, or you can click it, and I'll show you how you click it. And then to start reading aloud with the keyboard shortcut, you can use Control-Shift-U, or you can click the button that I'll show you, and you can start reading aloud. So let's go ahead and get on with our demo. We're ready for our demo. Let's take a look at Microsoft Edge, and you are. This is the Microsoft Edge. We're on the home page of the Microsoft Edge browser. And what we're going to show you, or what I want to show you, is first of all, if you remember in the slide deck, I couldn't get the drop-down box to work properly, but I am right now. So you're seeing several tabs open, and I can take all of those tabs and make a new collection. Remember, we were talking about collections. When I click that, what it's going to do, it's going to go out and say, okay, these are all of the various tabs, and we're going to make a collection of all of those tabs, and we can call it whatever we want. We'll call it test collection, and just click outside of that box, and it saved that. And there's 6 different pages now. So whenever we want to start these 6 pages, all we have to do is click the button up here that says collections. When I do, I have right now 2 collections in my group. Just to show you that, I have 2 collections. If I want to go to the test collection, I go there. All I have to do is to the right here with these 3 dots. I can send all of them to Excel. I can send them to Word. I can open all of them, and I can copy all of them. So if I click Open All, it will open all of the tabs, and you'll be ready to go with all of these tabs ready to work with. So this is called a collection, and I really like this feature. So let's get started with what we can do, what the thing that I really like about the new Edge. So let's go to a web page, and when I'm on that web page, you'll notice right here the the immersive reader. And as if you remember in the slides, I said if you hit F9 it will start it, or you can click this button. Let's see what the immersive reader is. Well, here it is. What it does, it cleans up the entire page with just the information that you want. In fact, it cut out all of the pictures as well, but it really made it so it's a printable form. There's a lot of things you can do with this. So let's see what we can do. And if I move my mouse up to the top, I get a menu, and that menu can go away. But if I tell it to pin it, it won't go away. It'll just stay there. The read aloud I'm going to come back to, but let's take a look first at text preferences. With the text preferences, we can change the size of the text in this immersive reader page. If I want to make them smaller, if I want to make them even larger, look at how big it can make it. But we'll keep it back here to about where it was when we started. Now on the text spacing, you can turn that on or off. If we turn it on, it makes it each word separate and makes it easier to read for some people. That might be an advantage. Now you can also change the theme of the page. Right now it's like a beige background with a black letter. I could go to a black with white letters. I could go to a green with black letters. There's even many more, including an, oh, everybody would want this, of course. Let's go back to the default again, and that's it for the text preferences. Now, reading preferences, I had mentioned earlier you could have a line focus. So what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at it. If you've got it on one line, it's going to show you the one line. So if we come down here to a paragraph, it's one line. Each time you move it, it's one line at a time. If you want 3 lines, you can have 3 lines for the focus, and the rest of it's kind of grayed out. Or you can have it 5 lines, so we can move it down here and have it as 5 lines. So let's go back to reading preferences, make it 1 line, and we're going to shut that off. So you don't even have to have it if you don't want. The other thing is the grammar tools. The grammar tools, you can divide the words into syllables, and each of the multiple syllable word will have a little dot between the syllables to show you how they are. The other thing you can do is highlight the various parts of speech. So if you want to see all of the adjectives, if you're using the same adjectives over and over again, they're green on here. They actually show up as green with the green word adjective above it. If you want to look at the adverbs, if you have a tendency to use the same words over and over again, you can check your work and see it this way and see if what it is, if it's your work. If it's somebody else's, you can do it with that as well. So that's it for the grammar tools. The part that I really like is the reading aloud. So let's go back to the top and go to the reading aloud.
Why your Zoom invite failed. An interesting issue arose during a recent Zoom meeting.
You can see as soon as I hit that button, it starts reading the text. Now, what are some of the, let's make it less confusing and close this. What are some of the things you can do with the voice options? You can make it faster. Let's say you want to speed read and you want it to read to you very fast. We can make it all the way fast, and let's listen to it then.
Zoom meeting that I was hosting for a group, and I was the presenter. I created the meeting and sent a copy of the invite to my contact.
You can listen to a 5-minute video or a 5-minute page reading of it in just a couple of minutes. So let's go back to normal. And then the other thing you can do is change the voice. Now, there are a lot of voices you can choose from, and you'll see several are from foreign countries. It doesn't translate into the language. It only gives that person is going to speak in English with an accent from that country. So as you read each of them, but let's just take a look at some of the other English ones. Let's listen to Zira and then continue.
Contact in the group. He then sent out an email to the members.
And one more quick choice here. Let's listen to Haley from Australia. Whoops, and continue.
Members. When we started the meeting, many of the regulars and those who indicated that they would be online were not.
And I can stop it. We'll go back up and we'll pick David again. And again, just a quick reminder.
Not. One of the members made phone calls to those missing attendees and they indicated issues with signing in.
So that's it for the voice options and the immersive, and we can always just close the immersive by clicking the button. It gets us back out and we're back at the web page. That's the two features that I'm really impressed with Microsoft Edge. There are a lot more for you to take a look at. Go ahead and try Microsoft Edge. You can add it to your desktop, and whether you're using right now Chrome or you're using Firefox or any other of the browsers, you can add Edge, which is probably there anyway. Make sure you have the updated version and the latest version, and try it. It's worth trying. Okay, thanks for joining us. Welcome, I'm Hewie Polock, and I'm going to be talking about Microsoft's. And that's it. Back to you, Ron. You're muted.
There you go. Thanks, Hewie. That was a great video. I have Edge on my computer, and I've been using it for a while now. I use Chrome mostly, but I have 3 big monitors, and I like to have Edge going in one monitor. The syncing of the extensions is super important for me because I use extensions all day long, and if I'm going to go over on another monitor where Edge is, I want the same things there that are on my other monitor where Chrome is. And I have Office 365, a paid subscription, and I was pretty sure it synced all the extensions. I'm going to test it this week. I'm going to delete some, and I'll go back to everybody, and maybe if someone's doing some testing on this week, they can report back to us next week. But I'm pretty sure it does sync them.
Yeah, I seem to think that that's what it would do, but I couldn't find any reference to it. I couldn't find any instructions on it. So it must be so new that
well, it just came out last week.
No one's done it.
It just came out last week, yeah. The syncing of it always synced the other stuff, but it was the extensions that was the problem. And there was an article this week that came out, and they said, as of today, the extensions are synced. So I think it's just a really new feature.
And I did notice that the Edge for Chromebooks is not available, but there is an Edge for Android. And I also think there's also an Edge for iPhones, iOS, and there may be one for Mac, but there is not one yet for Chromebook.
For Chrome, correct. I had a comment in the chat box. Someone had mentioned that in my video, I had said scrolling up would bring that menu up. Now, you have to appreciate that, first of all, there's 10 different versions of Android, right? So it depends on in the beginning of the video, I said, this is demonstrated on an Android phone running Android version 10. So the page up may be different on the different type of phone you have, and it also may be different on the different type of version of Android you're running. But there will be some menu item, and I don't know what it is because it depends on your phone, that you will be able to get those menus. That menu of all those items on there will be there in some form, right?
Yeah, Ron, there was another question in the chat box is how does one get the new Microsoft Edge? If you're getting updates, you probably have it. You can look at the version number by going to help and then about Edge and see if it is the latest version. It should be 83. And the other thing is if you don't have the latest one, you can go to Microsoft.com, go to Edge, and you can download it from there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I did. But I've had mine for a while. I just went to Microsoft and then downloaded it, and it installed just fine. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's not like the old Edge where it didn't work and there was all sorts of problems with it. In fact, in my at our computer club, I had 2 screens up. One had Edge running and one had Chrome running, and Vail was there, and he couldn't even tell the difference between the two. They were exactly the same. It's exactly the same technology, the same. You can set all the screens up exactly the same, and I could flip between Edge and Chrome, and you couldn't tell the difference. You would not know if you're in Edge or Chrome. The only way you could tell is there's a little icon up at the top where your Chrome, where you log into Chrome, and that's the secret of how it is. Vail, did you want to talk about it? Did you have something you want to say?
They're all Chromium based.
I use Edge quite a bit, and I did find that it syncs pretty well. I don't have it on my iPhone, so I'm not sure if it'll sync to that, but it does to all my other computers and things.
Yeah.
The extensions too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, extensions.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So give it a try. It's got some cool features, and it's sort of interesting.
Hey Ron, this is Gordy.
Yeah.
Back on the iPhone for searching for apps, on an iPhone you would swipe down from the top and then swipe once to the right, and it'll open up a search box, and you can search for your iPhone apps that way.
But isn't there a menu on an iPhone, Gordy, that it gives you all of them in in an alphabetical order? Does that iPhone not have?
I have not seen that.
Okay.
There are 2 things in the chat box. Somebody did give a link for Microsoft to get Edge, and then Ron showed a function or app that removes all ads in a website for sharing and printing, etc. What is it? Wasn't that me when I demonstrated the ad blocker? Was it in this group that I did that? I'm doing so many of these, I don't remember where I did it.
I can't remember. I use Hewie in our club, or sorry, Dewey in our club told me about this this extension I use all the time, and I showed it to you, Hewie. It's called Print Friendly and PDF, and it's an extension, and it's a great. It does the same thing. It strips out all the ads and everything, and makes it easy to copy and paste and do all sorts of stuff with. I use it all day long. It's called Print Friendly and PDF. It's an extension, and I'll put it in the notes.
Yeah, another extension that I use is Ad Blocker Plus.
Mm-hmm.
That's free as well.
Yeah.
I second that. The Ad Blocker Plus is a real benefit until you start reading news articles. And then you'll find that big news articles like Times and some other ones, Herald or whatever, will get complained to you because you won't unblock their ads.
Well, the nice thing.
So here's something that's really interesting about that. If you go to a site and there's a paywall and you can't see the article because you've got an ad blocker, and they say no, you've got to whitelist us and let us show you an ad, right? And you don't want to do that. If you use Print Friendly and PDF and click on that, you'll get the article. It comes up behind, even though they try to block you, it'll come up in the Print Friendly. So what I wanted to know, Huey, if in Microsoft Edge, if you go to a paywall and it won't bring that up because you've got an ad blocker. If you did the reader view, you know, and you clicked on that, would it go behind the paywall and get the article for you?
I don't know. I'm going to have to test that.
That's a real important feature.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
Cool.
But in Ad Blocker Plus, you can individually by page or by website can turn off Ad Blocker.
Yes,
so you can turn it off, look at the article you want, and turn it back on again for the next time you go, or just do it for that page and not worry about it.
Oh, okay. All right. But anyway, I use the print for it. I just click on it and it brings it up. All right, then. Listen, hey, an hour's gone by so fast. Did everyone have fun? Do you want to do it again next week?
Yeah, let's do it again. Let's do it again.
Bob, will you be here next week?
I will be.
Good. And Hewie, are you going to come next week?
Absolutely. I'm going to start practicing as soon as we sign off.
Well, Pine Top's still opened up, so we may be in Pine Top.
All right. Listen, we're going to leave today. Bob did sort of an inspirational, funny video for us to leave with. And I'm going to let Bob take over and share his screen. And it's, I don't know, was it go 2 minutes, Bob?
Yeah, about that.
And it's just a nice way of saying goodbye to everybody. And so I'm not going to, you know, when the video's over, we'll just sign off. So we'll see everybody next week, but watch Bob's video.
If he can find it.
Yeah, I can find it.
What else you got, John?
Little gold.
I might as well launch it before I get my coffee done.
What? That was that.
That's that.
Thanks,
that's
everyone.
really
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
We'll see you
goodbye,
next week.
everyone.
Thanks, Bob.
See you
Bye
next
now.
week.
See you next week.